Well, welcome to Left on Red, everybody. We're here. We're live. We're doing it.
Finally,
we're sitting in the metaverse, the formerly Facebook, now Meta coffee shop verse. Side by side. Evan's the smallest, as it should be.
I was very large for a minute.
Yeah,
I was very large.
If I had a nickel for every time, my friend. So here we are, and we are joined.
We're here in the hipster cafe talking about how much we all miss President Trump. And Charlie Kirk is going to tweet about it later.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Enter the Kirk first, yeah.
Yeah, we are. This is episode 1 of our deep dive into the Kirk verse. We're back to talk about
just
more.
What size is his face?
Yo, I think that was Jacob Wall, by the way. I don't think that was even Charlie.
Jacob Wall, that was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Jack Probiscus was the other name that I had, but it wasn't him. Jack.
Proboscis.
Yeah.
Pasobic.
So
is that the actual name?
Who we got here in the who do we have here in the LU cafe? We got some folks with us today, don't we?
Yeah, we got some. Yeah, we got some returning guests from one of our most popular episodes. So first off, let's get the most important people out of the way. My name's Evan, as always, joined by my co-host Cam.
Yeah, and I'm Evan.
No, yeah. And we are joined by a guest, Patrick and Ian again. Patrick, who is of the hit sensation This Is Bad, the only podcast dedicated to making Reza Aslan feel bad, and also potentially of some CIA background. The jury's still out on that about Patrick.
Yeah.
Pat, what's going on, man?
Not too much. I'm here to record a podcast called Left on Red.
Yep.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, cover the bases.
Pretty much. I mean, as we arranged previously, that's pretty much.
So you got the Venmo?
Pretty much what's
the money went through.
The transaction.
Good.
The deal went through.
Good. All right.
Deal gone well.
Yeah, and we're joined by a man who's been on like 50 goddamn podcasts, but most recently, Film Basics with Bassists on the Rigs of Dad Network. What's going on, Ian?
Glad to be here. Glad to talk about the cinematic achievement that is JFK and JFK Through the Looking Glass.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so we're the four of us are meeting at Dealey Plaza to uncover the mystery surrounding November 22nd, 1963.
I'm standing in the mud, leaning up against the stockade fence.
Yeah, I am
looking at you all through a scope.
Yeah, I am on the grassy knoll, dressed as a tramp.
And I am currently playing drums at the Rolling Stones show.
Yeah, and Patrick is in a nice convertible, driving down the street. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying some of the views here, and
the wind's in your hair.
Yep, we're slowing to a very deliberate 10 miles per hour as we take this corner.
No phones everywhere, just people living in the moment.
Yeah, not a phone in sight. Yeah.
Except fucking Zapruder.
Hey, Mr. President, look over here.
Yeah, some guy named
Zapruder with the iPhone
just
negative
with
18.
his phone out. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. Anyway,
I mean, if more people were on their phones, if fewer people were living in the moment, there would probably be a lot less ambiguity about what happened. So
sure.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That's a condemnation of the American way of life back then. Phones could have solved this.
They absolutely could have. They should have, frankly.
They could, should, must, and will solve the next JFK assassination.
Is that why we haven't had any assassination attempts of high-ranking U.S. officials? Steve Scalise doesn't count, like, since the 70s?
Yeah, that and maybe, like, the myriad, House Select committees and whatnot that didn't do anything. But, maybe. So, yeah, anyway, we're here to talk about Oliver Stone's JFK, another long Oliver Stone movie, much like the last one, Alexander. We're also talking about his new documentary, JFK Revisited, or 90 Minutes About the Magic Bullet. But before that, Patrick, I believe you have come with an advertisement today.
Yeah. So I do have the ad read here from our sponsor this week on the Left Unread podcast.
Yep.
Talk about kismet, serendipity. Our sponsor this week is the Lincoln Motor Company. It couldn't have planned that better. So they did send me the read, and I'll say up front, I did think some of the copy was a little odd, I guess.
Sloppy copy.
But they said, yeah, I thought it was a little strange, but they said this is the final draft, and this is what they wanted me to read. So we can dive into that. Get it up here. All right. From the Lincoln Motor Company comes this year's Continental Convertible, a new concept in fine cars. Now, what sets the Lincoln Continental Convertible apart from similar town cars, the discerning motorist asks? Well, at the Lincoln Motor Company, we answer. An unparalleled dedication to elegant design, automotive comfort, and, with only one famous exception, safety. Take, for one example, the richly appointed interior. You'll be riding in the height of luxury and elegance, whether you're en route to attend to affairs of state or bringing your best girl for a picnic lunch on some grassy knoll. Careful with that brain matter, sport. Those seats are upholstered in real Corinthian leather, and it does stain. But it's not just the classic beauty that distinguishes this year's Lincoln Continental, and we believe it to be our best yet. It's also its many motoring conveniences. With a push of a button, the state-of-the-art convertible rooftop descends, back and to the left, allowing you and your passengers to enjoy the sensation of the wind in your hair, as well as any other foreign objects that may be passing by. There's nothing quite like a ride in a Continental convertible. It's as much a mind-blowing thrill cruising at 55 miles per hour as it is while entering a kill zone at 10. It simply must be experienced firsthand to be believed. Make your way to your nearest Lincoln dealership for a test drive and find out why this year's Continental convertible doesn't just best the competition, it breaks it into 1,000 pieces and scatters it to the wind.
That's remarkable. I didn't even know that the Continental was still in production. That's egg on my face.
And that's, this is an ad for a 60-year-old car.
Right.
They had us run. That seems a little... And a little
strange.
of that felt disrespectful to me, to be honest with you, but...
You got to do what you got to do.
You know,
I mean, we're earning money
money
here.
in the bank.
Right, exactly.
Got to keep the lights on.
we don't
Yeah,
we don't
he
do
doesn't
this
want
shit
to
for
look like
free.
JFK while riding down the street,
Yeah, we don't do freestyles.
We had to pay you guys somehow, so it's good that you were willing to earn that.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, without further ado, we're about to re-enter the Stone Zone.
Yep. We are re-entering the Stone Zone.
I fucked up because I was supposed to. Oh, that's not even the right sound effect. What was it supposed to be? Whatever. Hey, we'll edit it out in post. We're in the Stone Zone, folks. So
Yep. So I guess for this, let's just we'll start going through the movie, and it is a long one, and feel free to interject with any thoughts or observations you may have. So, Oliver Stone's JFK. Now it begins with Ike's farewell address, his famous one, where he talks about the military industrial complex and all the shit about unwanted or wanted involvement. And it also describes the Cuba CIA war. But what I really like about this, and what what people always go back to with, when it comes to JFK and, everything that happened immediately after Ike is that they conveniently left out that Ike helped create the military-industrial complex that he then just decides to rail against at the end. And it was really him that put the two pervert brothers, John Foster and Alan Dulles, in charge. And, he just let them run ramshot all over the place. So, but it starts like that. Oliver Stone is a boomer's boomer, and he cannot leave that particular speech out of a movie about JFK.
Yeah, it felt like he intended for that to be kind of moving, kind of, emotionally gripping in some way. But as it was starting, so my first observation about this movie was that I fucking hated the music in this movie. And they start it like really hot and heavy, like right out of the gate with just like military tattoo, just like bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
Like,
he's not subtle.
and then it's and he's coming and he's like, we must not allow that. And I was like, this is gonna be 4 hours. And so,
well, I mean, it's like fucking 20 minutes long, the intro.
Well,
itself.
we should say, and I don't actually know that we mentioned this so far, but we should say that we did watch the director's cut. We watched the long version of JFK.
Yeah.
So just in case anyone's wondering why I'm talking about it, it's not hyperbole. It's just a long ass fucking movie.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of drumming and trumpets and French horns and shit. Ugh.
Yeah. The open is emblematic of the entire movie. It is deeply baby-brained boomer stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to admit that the most powerful people in the country conspired to off a president who they didn't like, but we're also going to put our full faith in the system that allowed them to do it. So
yeah.
The fact that, Jim Garrison was a hack DA who eventually got, I don't remember if he was convicted or just charged with bribery. The mob was paying him off to let them use their pinball machine, deploy their pinball machines in New Orleans. Oh. Garrison was not some upstanding, great dude. He was shitty, just like every other DA that New Orleans has ever had.
Yeah.
And the fact that the fucking the idea, the audacity to think that there is a great man in history who's going to stand up to the Dulles brothers and the machinery that they represent, to put your faith in this guy to set right what has been rent asunder, is just deeply sad and hilarious.
Yeah, and it's also this idea that the system that created all of these things, if we could just get these things it created out of it, then the system would be perfect.
Right. Do you remember the final the final thing that Jim Garrison is saying in court? Like, justice doesn't just happen. Men need to instigate justice, or whatever. I forget that word that he uses. But I was like, really, dude? Like, you're going to stand in front of me and earnestly say that after the last 2.5 hours, what you've shown me?
As the DA of New Orleans, that's your stance?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and also, what
democracy dies in darkness, guys. It's just not.
Yeah, right. Well, it's also what you say about JFK too, whose family made their money fucking bootlegging and shit. They were like a mobbed up family.
It's a movie about dirty people defending dirty people from dirty people. Yeah. It's a movie about fucking filth. The whole movie's
he 100% had the mob steal the election for him too. It's just that's which don't get me wrong, Nixon was also completely corrupt, and that's why he was like, he stole it better than I did, so fuck it.
Yeah.
Well, the reason people hated
Nixon
JFK
just
is
understood that was part of the game.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it was in Ohio, the state Republican Party did want to move forward with some kind of lawsuit or something, and he didn't want any part of it. He was like, no, he won unfair and unsquare. And
just like I was trying.
That's. Yeah,
well, that's the thing. Nixon they were both mobbed up.
Did better.
They were both mobbed up, but Nixon was mobbed up from the inside, and JFK was mobbed up from the outside. And they didn't like the idea of some Catholic, Massachusetts actual mobster coming in and encroaching on their weirdo insider pervert agenda. They were like, listen, man, only criminals that are already in can ascend. We don't want
You had
some
to have been
weirdo
a criminal
outsider
since
criminal.
since the 19th century,
Yeah.
not the 20th century.
He was a new money criminal, and they didn't want that.
Yeah.
They didn't want some outside Massachusetts mobbed up Catholic to come in and like, look, man, you guys are all crooked as fucking question marks.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, what's the difference? They're all fucked. But
Well, I mean, it's like what I talked about in the last episode where Nixon had found like documents implicating Allen Dulles as a Nazi collaborator, and he goes up to Dulles during World War II, and he was like, "How much can this get me?" Like, you know what I mean?
I heard you were a Nazi. You got anything for me for that?
Yeah.
What are you
So
gonna do
how
for
much does me shutting the fuck up about that make?
that? I feel like I have to like put out right now that so I've never seen this movie. I'm also not a JFK conspiracy guy. I know like almost nothing about this, and throughout the course of us recording this podcast, I think it's probably become abundantly clear to our listeners that like Evan and I are pretty divided in what we are interested in. I like the old shit. He likes the new shit and the old shit. Evan's just smarter than me, but this is my first. Yeah, it's true, but this is my first experience on a deep level with like true JFK conspiracy stuff. So I didn't go into watching this movie knowing a lot about what they were talking about, and I found the first half of it like really hard to follow as someone who's like not a devotee of this type of stuff. I didn't spend a lot of time.
If you know the cast of characters, the weirdos and perverts that come crawling out of the woodwork, it makes a little bit more sense, maybe.
Yeah, I did. I know Allen Dulles obviously because we've done episodes on Allen Dulles, but
I mean, the movie name drops like George D'Amore and shit. Like, these are like real players.
Yeah.
But like background ones that like not a lot of people know about with all of this kind of the conspiracy around this time. But the first time I saw this movie, I was in middle school, and they showed it in my history class.
So you were what, 16, 17?
What's that?
I said, so you were what, 16, 17?
Middle school. I was like,
I was making a joke. That's okay.
Oh, okay. I get you.
Yeah, we'll just let
then
that.
I had the same history teacher in high school, and he showed it again. They obviously skipped one particular scene, but so I saw it like a couple times then I watched it again last year, and then this one. So I've seen it a few times.
Cool, man.
Yeah. Anyway,
I thought the inclusion, the brief inclusion of George D'Amore and Schilt in the movie is interesting. I mean, I saw this, again, I've seen it a couple times on cable or whatever, just kind of as background, and I knew that George D'Amore and Schilt was a character, and I didn't remember to what extent, and it's very brief. It's like a brief, almost like cameo.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, George D'Amore and Schilt was
he was a white Russian.
He was a Russian expat of noble lineage, and this isn't going to set off any alarm bells, a petroleum geologist who became friends with the Oswalds, Lee Harvey and his wife Marina, when they moved to Texas from the Soviet Union, and got ingratiated into the Russian expat community in Texas. And he figures pretty heavily not into Jim Garrison's specific conspiracy theory, but he figures very heavily into a number of other ones, I think more convincing ones, for a number of reasons. And I sort of think that inclusion of him very briefly is sort of one of the couple times in the film that Stone sort of nods to other alternative explanations. I think coming out of the film, you're not supposed to be whole hog believing, Jim Garrison's version of events necessarily.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just he's described the film as a counter myth to the Warren Commission, and so I think it's one of the couple scenes where they sort of nod to other alternative explanations. That being said, George D'Amore and Schilt, I think he had the longest testimony before the Warren Commission.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And was 1,000% a spook. I mean, he was a
CIA
CIA asset in Haiti and Guatemala and all through South and Central America and elsewhere in the Caribbean.
Yeah. He was an OG white Russian. He was in his family was in the whites, and then he came over to the U.S. He was an oil man. He was very good friends with with George H.W. Bush, so much so that he wrote a letter to H.W. like in the 70s, like a month before his suicide, where, you know, Bill O'Reilly claims to have nearly walked in on him shooting himself with a shotgun.
Killing DeMore and Schilt.
Yeah.
The new book from Bill O'Reilly. You know, obviously out next month.
Yeah.
Full of other obvious lies.
Yeah, but although this movie does briefly say that, was it this one actually, or maybe the I don't remember, but that, you know, the theory is that he was Lee Harvey Oswald's handler, George DeMore and Schilt, you know, as being like an older CIA guy. When Lee Harvey Oswald came back from the Soviet Union, he was his handler.
Got it.
Yeah, the Bush family claims that DeMore and Schilt was not that close with H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
They what was it? It was like his nephew and one of the Bushes were roommates at Harvard or something like that. Some connection like that. And actually, indeed, it's quite easy to simply write a handwritten letter to the director of the CIA and get an immediate response.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. They actually weren't that close. That's just easy, and any of us could do that too.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Absolutely. But
also just a wacky coincidence that you know, in the lead up to November 22nd, he quickly hightails it to Haiti.
Yeah. And also, wasn't it his death was like right before either the Church Commission or the House Select Committee on Assassinations? It was like one of those ones where he died like right before it. And it's like kind of like this whole like sequence that like before the Warren Commission, a bunch of people die, then before the Church Committee, and then the House Select Committee on Assassinations. Like all these people that are like, it keeps getting to like people like more on the periphery, and then they just die right before it. They have heart attacks. They commit suicide. Like with George DeMore and Schilt, where he commits suicide with a fucking shotgun. Like, you know, all that kind of stuff. But anyway,
this is actually a little bit far afield of the actual movie JFK, but I think it is germane to that. My favorite of all of those is Jack Ruby, the man who kills Lee Harvey Oswald because, in his own words, Mrs. Kennedy looked sad on television.
Yeah,
so he drove from New Orleans to Dallas and gained entry to a police precinct and shot Lee Harvey Oswald. So. I don't think that he ever eventually went on trial. He got a psychiatric evaluation before his trial for killing Lee Harvey Oswald began, and the psychiatrist who evaluated him was a fellow named Jolly West, who was a former Air Force officer who. Starting the Korean War and forward, participated in like the MK Ultra, LSD experiments, the Manchurian Candidate type stuff. Just a wacky coincidence. What a wild turn of events that this is the guy who does. The guy who's dose people with LSD to make them go crazy. He does a psychiatric evaluation on Jack Ruby. And his evaluation is, well, he was a perfectly sane guy until some point in the last 36 hours, he suffered a psychotic break, and now he can't stand trial. That's true.
He was fine until really recently, and also he's very newly crazy.
He was fine until I gave him a sedative, and then he kind of lost his mind for, a couple days.
Yeah, I gave him a weed gummy to take the edge off, but oops, it was actually
I think I mixed
LSD
weaponized psychotropic.
Yeah. But yeah, so like and so I think this is one of the funny things that the movie does, and like to what you were saying, Cam, about like it being like kind of confusing and tough to follow. Immediately after this like 20-minute intro montage kind of thing, it goes into like one of the more obscure things that happen surrounding the case, where a woman gets thrown from a car. Right, and so this is an actual thing. So this woman would claim, I think she was some kind of like involved in unsavory parts of a New Orleans life, and she claimed that a couple mobsters had driven her out into the desert, roughed her up, or not desert, but driven her out a bit outside the city, roughed her up, and kicked her out of the car. And it was because during the ride they were actively talking about their plot to kill Kennedy. And she was just like, well, what the fuck, what are you going to do that? And they kicked her out, and then she, like, tried to tell people, and they wouldn't, like, believe her. And so that's what's going on there, but they don't really describe it at all.
There's no revisiting of that. There's a moment where
there is a brief one.
They show her
actually.
in the hospital, and she's like, they're going to kill Kennedy. They're going to kill Kennedy. And they were like, oh, man, like, she's on drugs. She's clearly dosed on something. She keeps saying these nonsensical things. And
I think she's from Jack Ruby's nightclub, too.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I found that whole part, like, just a little confusing. But that was me. That was just me.
Yeah, like I said, I knew that story, so then I knew that's what that was
didn't.
referring to.
I knew nothing about this. I have spent zero time researching JFK's assassination. I know that makes me like a scrub, but unfortunately, I just...
Loser.
Yeah, I know. And it's true.
Oliver Stone never met a piece of circumstantial evidence that, he didn't love and wasn't incredibly compelling.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole Through the Looking Glass documentary is just like random weirdos. Like, here's an ophthalmologist from Quebec who says that, this guy didn't fill out the right 302 form. So clearly there was a government conspiracy to like do the thing.
Yeah.
And that's like, so the 544 Camp Street address, the Guy Bannister address, yes, that is the same address as Fair Play for Cuba. Lee Harvey Oswald probably was being handled by Bannister there. But, like, I don't know if you guys remember the scene where Kevin Costner, like, takes them out into the Central Business District in New Orleans, and he's like, look, there's the CIA. There's the Office of Naval Intelligence. There's 544 Camp. Like, this can't all be a coincidence. Actually, yeah, it can, and it probably is. Like, that's just like any major downtown, area. Like, that's just the shit that happens. Like, this is not evidence. It's not compelling. This is not illustrative in any way. It does not tell us that there was a conspiracy.
I get
they
my
glamorize
haircut
the
in
shit
same
out of it in
building.
this movie.
Yeah.
I get my haircut in the same building in Hartford, Connecticut as the Brazilian consulate. And my barber cuts a lot of hair for Brazilian diplomats.
Okay.
And it's just...
So are you in the Brazilian deep state?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you do push-ups with Jair Bolsonaro? What you mean to tell me is that you're in his cabinet?
You are a Bolsonaristo?
This is a strange way of telling us that you have COVID, Pat.
Yeah.
I have mold in my lungs, and I get my hair cut by the same man.
No. Epa, I got the mold in my lungs.
I forgot there was a Portuguese fellow on this podcast.
What's up, man?
I'm stepping into.
He's not
into
even that
minefield
Portuguese. He
bringing up
just
Brazil.
he leans into that
this?
hard because he needs an identity.
Anyway.
Well, my point is simply, in metro areas, places just need to be places.
Yeah,
right.
No
and
shit.
there's only
Exactly.
so much place.
Well,
that
dude, so
places can be placed.
So with that documentary, the thing is, like, they do the thing that you're never supposed to do is when you lead with your worst evidence. It's like they spend the first, like, hour and 15 minutes talking about the dumbest bullshit. And it's like the last 45 minutes is good. Like, that's good. When they switch to, like they show that scene from JFK where it's Donald Sutherland talking about, like, who benefits, like all that shit, and then they switch to talking about the Dulles brothers. They switch to talking about, like, shit that's going on, like, with Vietnam, who's gonna miss out on, like, the money, like, all that shit. It's like, okay, good. That's the compelling evidence. Talking about the fact that this dude's brain looked a little fucking stupid is, like, not good evidence. Like,
I absolutely dissociated. I completely
150 grams more
dissociated
than a
during.
brain should weigh, Evan.
Yeah.
I completely dissociated during the Donald Sutherland part. That went on for like 45 fucking minutes, and I was just like, I can't. I've got things to do. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna vacate. I'm gonna do not perceive me for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, dude. The thing, it's like you got this fucking ace in the hole, which is the sociopathic freak Alan Dulles, and, like, you barely even talk about him until the last 45 minutes. And then when they show him, he's, like, does that thing where, like, with the interviewer asks him, it's like, have you ever committed an act of violence? And Dulles just sits there lighting his pipe for mad long. And he goes, no.
Nope.
And it's like, dude, he's a fucking sociopath. Like, that is, like, he's insane.
Yeah.
Like...
Absolute king. Absolute king.
Yeah, dude.
Anyway, I
so,
felt like the moment with Donald Sutherland was kind of wasted. And I read about it a little bit. Apparently in the original plan for the film, it was supposed to be split into, like, 2 interviews where it's like, when we saw it, that's the first half, and then at the end of the movie, it was going to come back and be like, he met up with Donald Sutherland again, and like, okay, so, you know, you fucked up, you didn't find everything, but Oliver Stone felt like it like needed to all be one big moment, so he just like kind of smashed it together and shoved it in where it was, and I feel like that made the narrative like a little confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
I felt like it was a little weird where it ended up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that the court part goes on forever and it just kind of ends there.
Yeah.
It's
right, and
like,
there's no revisiting of that.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right. So you
All
met
right,
with
well,
this guy.
Fuck off.
And, you know, I had the benefit, I was watching on Amazon, I had the benefit of a X-ray or whatever they call it, where you can see, like, everybody's character, who everybody's playing, and it was like, he's
like
Mr.
the
X.
the best feature in any streaming app.
Oh, it's great. I love it. And it actually benefited me a lot
Yeah,
watching this
he's
because I didn't
Mr.
know what the
X,
fuck I was watching, so I did a lot of...
I've always assumed it's supposed to be a composite character or something.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a guy named L. Fletcher Prouty, who was a senior military officer who did covert CIA stuff and did a kind of radical 180 and became wildly critical of the U.S. intelligence community, and eventually would go on to serve as like a historical advisor on the 1991 Oliver Stone film JFK, and got himself put in as a character named Mr. X.
Yeah, dude.
So I'm I guess the thing that I'm not sure about is like how much of that is supposed to be like just to help the narrative go along. Oh, here's Jim Garrison sitting in front of the Washington Monument with like a mysterious man.
Some X-Files shit.
Are we supposed to?
Right.
Yeah, are we supposed to believe like that? Like, does Jim Garrison claim that happened to him? I'm not sure. I tried to actually find a copy of On the Trail of the Assassins, which is his book that this film is based on, because I wanted to read it beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm curious how much his case in the film, tracks to the case that they actually made in real life. And I didn't find it. I did find a copy, and I bought this, and I meant to have it handy as a prop. A copy of the full unabridged text of the Warren Commission report.
Yeah, I saw your Twitter post.
Yeah, I bought that for $6.
Yeah.
I didn't find the Jim Garrison book, though.
That's a bummer. Real quick, did we lose Cam?
Can you guys still hear me okay?
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's left the cafe.
Uh-oh.
Oh, shit.
I did notice, I will
Oh,
say,
no.
Are we all
let's
baristas?
see
Is that
here.
what's going on?
I think we're enjoying the coffee.
We're patrons, yeah.
No, but no, look, we're on the barista side
It's
of the
it's a
counter.
different type of cafe.
Yeah, you see the espresso machine way in the back, Pat, to the left.
Oh,
of
it's
the
it's
clock.
way back there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I guess my perspective is a little bit flattened because it's a still photograph
Yep.
that we've been inserted into.
All right, yeah. So, after the woman gets kicked out of the car, we get to the actual shooting. What's up, Cam? So the shooting happens in Dallas, yeah, and then Jim Garrison hears the news and he is distraught. He is absolutely distraught.
Not feeling good about it.
Yeah. So the initial reports cite that there may have been somebody on a grassy knoll. There is a drunk cop who ends up being Guy Bannister, who's really, really fucking happy. He gets fucking gets absolutely hammered and beats the shit out of his friend. Just pistol whips
That was
him.
awesome.
because his friend was like, "Ah, man, I've seen some stuff this summer. I might write a book about it." And he just fucking gets him right in the face.
You shouldn't treat Jack Lemmon like that.
Yeah, seriously.
I felt like that was pretty fucked up. I mean, Jack Lemmon of all people.
Yeah, so something.
I
not
will say
that
this
chill
is my
happened
least
to Jack
favorite
Lemmon.
film in the Grumpy Old Men series.
Seriously, I saw it again from X-Ray. I saw this was what is it? 5 out of 10 films that they did together.
Wow,
they were in 10 films together, and this was number 5.
Yeah.
So that means Grumpy Old Men, Grumpy Old Men 2, Grumpier Old Men, or whatever.
Yeah,
those are
too grumpy,
6
too
and 7.
old.
The grumpiest oldest men. Man,
Yeah.
the list went on and on.
Yeah, but so Jack Lemmon just gets fucked up, and then you see Lee Harvey Oswald, and he claims to be a patsy, which I will say, typically when you have somebody commit a political assassination, they usually can't shut the fuck up about it. They're like really into the fact that they just killed that motherfucker. There's 2 very particular cases where that is a little bit different. And that's with Lee Harvey Oswald and Sirhan Sirhan, who both were just like, I did not do this fucking shit. What are you talking about? But, so he immediately comes out like that. And then you see David Ferry come up, which is...
Oh my God.
Yes, dude. Joe Pesci as the... alopecia, strange hairpiece, strange eyebrow piece, having David Ferry.
Yeah, it's pretty
the eyebrows
unbelievable.
fucking slap.
Dude, the eyebrows are incredible. They come down to like fucking like past his eyes.
And like I've seen pictures of like David Ferry. I know he had the eyebrows like that, but it's like, I mean, first of all, it looks like fucking boot polish on his face. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look like eyebrows.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also like, I know what Joe Pesci's face looks like. This is ridiculous.
Dude, the hairpiece that
The
just
hairpiece
constantly moves up and down.
But the last scene that he's in, it's down to here.
Yeah.
You know, it's
like
at
Evo
eye line.
Morales at the end.
And he's just like, you don't understand. They're going to fucking kill me. And I was like, yeah, I would. Honestly,
Yeah,
looking like
look
you
at
look.
you fucking
I feel like I'd
dude.
fucking kill you, Joe Pesci.
You're very annoying.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Joe Pesci sort of very, I think, artfully sliding in and out of one of the many, many lazy Southern accents in this film. And even when he's like doing a Southern accent, it's like, well, he's Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a 5-mile radius where he can sound like he's from.
Yeah. Yeah. He sounds very
It's not the
much
French
like
Quarter.
where he's from. Yeah. And Ian is our resident, the podcast resident, former New Orleans liver.
Yeah.
So I would like to hear your take on the accents.
The accents were to an actor abysmal. I will say that Tommy Lee Jones probably acquitted himself the best out of everybody. Probably the worst is Costner. Now he's very overexposed. Like he's way out there. But the thing is, he's not doing anything that's remotely like a New Orleans accent. The New Orleans, like native New Orleans accent, is very strange. It does not sound like a typical Southern accent. And what he's doing sounds like somebody from Atlanta or Tennessee or something.
Yeah.
But you'll notice that like every line that he delivers starts off with a really strong Southern accent, and then by like word 6, he's just regular Kevin Costner. It just fucking tapers off. Yeah. But it's real bad. It's extremely bad.
One thing that I've
Tommy
always thought...
Lee's good. Tommy Lee Jones is good. And Oldman, if you listen to any of the recorded audio that is extant of Lee Harvey Oswald, Oldman is kind of doing an impression. Like, he's really kind of ramping it up. But it's interesting. I mean, I thought his performance overall was very good. He's sort of doesn't get a ton of screen time, but I did appreciate the Oldman that I did get.
Yeah.
I
am not a communist. I am a Marxist-Leninist. Yeah. Like the radio interview.
Yeah. He was brought up between Texas and New York and Louisiana. Like, he would have one of those weird polyglot accents. So.
Yeah. And then lest we forget John Candy.
Dude,
oh my God, I forgot.
John Candy in this movie is fucking
doing the
unreal.
jazz man.
Dude, with his
He's
sunglasses,
fucking
he
unreal.
just keeps calling people cat and shit.
Yeah.
He was a cool cat, man. You know what I'm
Sweating
saying,
like
brother?
a whore in church.
Oh, dude, yeah, John Candy is like my favorite part of this movie. It's just such a
Holy
bizarre
fuck.
portrayal, man.
And this had to have been one of his final movies.
Yeah, well, he died in like 94, right?
Yeah, when was this, 92?
It came out in 91.
91.
91,
Jeez.
November 91, yeah.
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 Just while we're shouting people out, Michael Rooker, I think, a character actor that I love to see. He was fantastic. And then I also thought that Kevin Bacon did a good job as the racist hustler who
the
we
racist
encounter
gay
in
Nazi.
Angola. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon's always good.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been offended by a Kevin Bacon performance. He's always good.
Well, there is the Kevin Bacon Invisible Man. That's a really bizarre movie.
Sure, but is he what's wrong with it?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
That's true.
he's never what's wrong with the movies he's in.
True, yeah.
You know, you might not like the movie, but
Yeah.
is Kevin
Oh,
Bacon
no,
the
Hollow
problem?
Man. Hollow Man. It was
Hollow
Hollow
Man, exactly.
Yeah.
Hollow Man.
Is he ever the issue? I don't know.
True. But yeah, so we're starting to get introduced to this weird coterie of characters. We also start getting some of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee and Soviet Union life of Lee Harvey Oswald. And so this is one of the ones that's really interesting, where like when you start researching Lee Harvey Oswald, this fucking dude had the fingerprints of intelligence all over him from like a young age. Like he was at that the Japanese base where they were working with the U-2 bomber.
The U-2 base, yeah.
Yeah, with the U-2 shit. He also famously he had he wasn't stupid, but he had a learning disability. He was like brutally dyslexic. So he had like a really difficult time with language. So naturally, he would choose to learn Russian. And like
more disabled assassins.
Well, they also always talk about how he read like Capital by Karl Marx when he was like a teenager. I'm like, dude, I can barely read any of that now, and I'm like a 32-year-old man that doesn't have dyslexia. Like, it's like they get him like reading all this insane like communist literature when he's a teenager for his backstory. And then, when he has just like a couple $100s in his bank account, he somehow gets $1,500 to go to the Soviet Union. He defects. He's there for a while. He lives in Minsk, Belarus, where like he apparently gets bored. He doesn't lose his religion. He just gets bored, doesn't know how to spend his money. He marries Marina Oswald. Suddenly, he immediately is able to get his citizenship back. Is given a like a loan from the embassy for like $2,000 to resettle in the U.S., and he's immediately with this expat community that includes white Russians like George de Mohrenschildt. And it's like this whole... But also, while he's in the Soviet Union, is when that U-2 spy plane is shot down, and he had the information to locate it, that to give to the Soviet Union for it to locate. And it's like, he was only in the Soviet Union for what, like 6 months or something like that?
No, it was like 2 years.
What's that?
He was over there for 2 years, wasn't he?
Oh, 2 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it was during that time they just are able to shoot down the U-2 spy plane, and then he comes back. And it's like, the whole thing is fishy and clearly like an entire like cover story.
Yeah, have you guys read any of the excerpts of his diary entries during his time in the Soviet Union?
No.
Oh, they're great. They're just like the only one that sticks with me to remember is like he's complaining, like you said, Evan. He has nowhere to spend his money.
Yeah.
He's bored, and like his main complaint is like there are no bowling alleys. There are no dance halls here. Like I want to take a gal out bowling.
Yeah.
And I can't. This sucks.
He's got it pretty good too. He's just like at some factory in Minsk, and he's got like a wicked nice apartment. Like they set him up with like this nice one, and he's like, this sucks. There's no dances. But he does meet the sweetie Marina Oswald, and takes her back to the U.S. But I mean, that's kind of just
easily. Not only does he gain access back to the U.S., getting a loan from the State Department to make his way back without being debriefed by the CIA. But
Yeah,
he's
it's
allowed
just
to take
immediate.
his Soviet-born wife with him.
Yeah.
After having, I don't know if we mentioned this, having renounced his citizenship in order to defect first. Like,
Right.
that's
Yeah, he did.
pretty significant. You hand over your passport and you're like, fuck you.
He like took a shit on like the counter at like
Yeah.
the passport office and like, yeah.
And then after 2 years, he's like...
You know what it is? It's basically the episode of Seinfeld where George makes a big show of quitting over the weekend, decides he changed his mind, and plays it off as a joke.
Yep.
Yeah.
Only in this case, it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just like, okay, no debrief necessary. You can go.
Yeah.
Here's $2,000 to help you get settled again. Like, okay, bro. Thank you. Yep. But, yeah, then he comes back, and then Marina just so happens to take some pictures of him holding, like, communist literature with a Carcano rifle.
Or did she? Or were
Yeah.
those...
where he kept moving his ring back and forth on different fingers.
Precisely.
Like, some of
So
the
that
pictures
wasn't
they're on
the
his right,
Carcano
some to
rifle.
the left.
That's not the
I don't think
Mannlicher
that
or
was
whatever?
What was that?
What was that actually the Carcano rifle he used in the allegedly used in the Kennedy assassination?
Well,
I
they
think
claim,
I'm
but
not
it's
sure
like
it was.
different than the one that was actually used. It's like smaller and has like different straps and shit like that.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's in
Yeah, but it is a picture of him with a
those are before
Carcano
his-
rifle in communist literature.
But I could be wrong. But I think those were before his first assassination attempt of Edwin Walker.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. It wasn't directly pre Kennedy. It was pre Edwin Walker.
Yeah, but so anyway, we get some background on this stuff in the movie, and then bam, Ruby comes up and kills Lee Harvey Oswald. As we were saying before, he just drives across state lines, gets easy access into the police station just to toss one into his stomach. So there's that.
As you do. As one does.
Yeah, naturally. Yeah. Oh, what's all this then? Bam, just shoots him. Fucking. But then we get David Ferry's picked up by Jim Garrison, and he is, he's just lying his ass off all over the place. He claims to not know Lee Harvey Oswald. He claims that he was going goose hunting with some people. They don't talk to the other people, but they say the other people contradict his story. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we didn't bag no geese. And they're like, they said you didn't even have guns. They were like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, we didn't do any of that shit I just said.
Why include that at all? That was just a confounding scene. It made no sense.
Yeah. And then they were like, well, we're sorry this is going to end poorly for you, Mr. Ferry, but you're under arrest. Yeah. And then the FBI is just like, yo, fuck Jim Garrison. We ain't with this guy at all. Nuh-uh. No, we don't know nothing about David Ferry. We don't care. And that's everything in 1963.
There you go. The whole year summed up.
Yep. Yeah, a year.
Neat little bow. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
whoa! Look at me. Suddenly I'm big man on campus here.
King in the castle. But yeah, so then it fast forward to 1966, and Jim Garrison and some dude on a plane are bitching about hippies. They're just like talking about, what was it, like the girl had like a peace sign like painted onto her like pregnant belly or something like that. Yep.
Yeah. What did he say? She's pregnant with a child, and you know what it said on her belly? Love child.
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah. Love child.
Love child.
I can't tell if they're a
Walter
boy or a girl
Matthau,
from
dude.
the back.
Yeah, just some nice reactionary shit. And then so the Warren Commission has gone on, it's BS, and Jim gets obsessed. He starts looking into the case, 3 years later, because that guy on the plane red pilled him. So, he just pilled the fuck out of Jim Garrison, and Jim's just like, oh my god, that's right. Holy shit. Oh yeah, so fucking he just goes like, dives head first, just reading the shit out of some book, or about the case, and it just kind of like starts sort of, they start talking about the case with all these weird things. One of the ones that they do mention is the tramps, So this is something you see a lot of the time. Like, there's all these, like, weird, unsavory types walking around Dealey Plaza. One of the ones that people talk about are these weird tramps that came in on a train. And there were men that were dressed like homeless men, but they were, like, well-shaven. And kind of like their clothes
they looked good. Like, they're like, oh, we rousted a bunch of tramps and bums, but...
You would think that they would have, like, grown out their facial hair for a few days, but maybe that was just so unseemly in 1966, you would have been thought of as a hippie.
Well, it's the same thing as now. As like when the guys show up at the protest with their Timberlands and their like cargo shorts and their sports jerseys and say, "How do you do, fellow Antifa members?" You know, it's
right.
You know, cops never change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cops are always
cops showing up to the protest with the bands tied to their arms so that they know each other. All that kind of shit, yeah. But yeah, so you have these, like, very confusing guys dressed like homeless men, but not really acting like it or quite looking the part. You know, you have a train that comes in, all these strange cars start doing surveillance, and, you know, there's a guy at the station who's noticing all this commotion going on. There's people, like, kind of like, looks like they're directing stuff to go on. They're, like, sort of, like, just doing what looks to be like reconnaissance or something, some sort of surveillance. And, you know, there's this guy watching the whole thing go on. He's like, this is kind of fucking weird over here, you know? Jim Garrison starts to realize that Lee Harvey Oswald has the hands of intelligence all over him. You also learn that Guy Bannister, that drunk asshole who is now dead, and pistol whipped Jack Lemmon, is ex-FBI. Before he became a private eye, and that he's been intelligence for a long time too.
Right.
We also get the scene where Lee Harvey Oswald fights with the Cubans in New Orleans before the assassination, and where the whole thing sort of seems staged. And you learn that he shared his address, what we were talking about before, with Guy Bannister. And there's also like a scene where Guy Bannister gets pissed at him for putting the return address on the pamphlets, something like that. But yeah, we get that, and then you know, that's the baffling scene too, where Jim Garrison is like, look at all these the Office of Naval Intelligence, the CIA, the FBI, they're all right here in this corner with Lee Harvey Oswald. That's fucking crazy, man. That's fucking crazy. All right, wow, where the fuck was I? Oh yeah, so they go to like that what was it, like a dog racing track or some shit, right?
Yes.
Was it horse dog? Yeah. So they go to meet that guy Jack Martin, who was Guy Bannister's friend at this like dog racing track, and you know he's getting his fucking gamble on. You know, he's just having a good ass victimless time, making some dogs race, trying to you know run his numbers or whatever. And Jim Garrison comes up to him, and they smoothie him into you know starting to talk about this thing that he clearly doesn't want to talk about because he had the fear of God put into him with the butt of a fucking gun. So he talks about how he worked with Guy Bannister, you know, in the summer leading up to 1963, that he was in his office. There was a whole bunch of bullshit going on in that office all summer. And he talks about how it was called Operation Mongoose, how David Ferry was involved, and David Ferry was training all of these Cuban exiles for a second Bay of Pigs-style invasion of the island of Cuba. So yeah, anyway, so we get to, he talks about Jack Martin. Jack Martin talks about all this shit that was going on, like Operation Mongoose, and he just starts giving some backstory to Jim Garrison and his friends about everything that was going on. We also get the very wet John Candy scene, where he is just
a drippy boy.
He's a damp man.
Yeah, where he's just soaking wet, and then you know, saying like all of these like stupid, what I imagine he thinks are like Southern colloquialisms and whatnot. But it gets to the scene that I really like, where you get to the gay plot to kill JFK. The homosexual agenda was actually always killing JFK. Where it's just like the most fucking baffling scene. This like comes up where they meet Kevin Bacon and he's a hooker, and he tells them about this like just totally like deranged, like debaucherous scene at Clay Bertrand's or Clay Shaw, I forget whichever one is his real name, at his place, which is where they draw in Tommy Lee Jones. And it's like, dude, I don't even understand like what's going on there, but it turns into like this gay orgy with like David Ferry, Clay Bertrand, Kevin
Dressed
Bacon
as Mercury, perhaps? Is that what was going on? He was painted gold.
Yeah, like one of them.
Oh my god, the nipple twisting party?
Yeah! And when he's whipping him with the fucking...
Oh, that was my favorite part of the whole fucking movie. The best scene.
Easily
So,
the
okay,
best
so
part.
can I be honest with you guys? So, and I know that I've been kind of spacing out for the last, like, 40 minutes or whatever, because the first half of this movie, I was like, I kept texting Evan, I was like, did you like this? Was this good for you? So you enjoyed this? Am I going to go on this podcast and be surrounded by people who liked this fucking movie? And I'm going to have to sit here and defend myself as someone who thinks this movie fucking blows?
Yeah.
And then we got to the nipple twisting part. And I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm fucking in. And just watching him just like, you fucking bitch. And it's just like Joe Pesci pushing fucking, what's his name's head down. He's like, you're a little bitch, aren't you? Yeah, you're here for fucking me. And he just like twists his nipple.
Suck on chains.
Oh, it's so good. And then that almost, maybe not quite, but is almost the point where for me the movie turned around. I feel like the first half of this movie fucking sucks. I hated this. I hated it so bad.
Yeah,
I was like so mad that I had to watch fucking 3.5 hours of this movie.
And also the second half also sucks.
Yeah, well, okay. But I found things that were redeemable in it. But okay, so you agree that this movie sucks?
Oh, it's a train wreck.
It's
an
so
absolute
bad.
fucking
Okay,
disaster.
so I thought that I was going to show up here and have to defend myself against people that like loved this movie.
No,
because the way Evan framed it, he was like, "Oh,
shit,
it's a good movie.
it.
It's a legitimately good movie." And I was like, "I don't know, man. I feel like it's got everyone in it. Like every actor's in it."
No, I mean, so this is like the other side
sucks,
of Oliver Stone. Like Alexander is Oliver Stone, and it's a train wreck and boring. This is Oliver Stone, and it's a train wreck, and it fucking rules. So I fucking love this movie. It's so fucking bizarre.
Yeah,
I think it was nominated for something like 8 Academy Awards. Ultimately,
Yeah.
I'm not
For
sure if
JFK?
it won any of those. But
it's hugely,
Oliver
like-
Stone did win. He did win the Golden Globe for directing it, and I think honestly richly deserved, because this movie is it's so much fucking information, and it's all batshit. And he manages to make this pretty compelling narrative out of it.
So
the scenes kind of stumble into each other, and again, the ultimately the narrative itself, like I said earlier, he describes it as a counter myth to the Warren Commission. This is one of a million different overlapping, Kennedy conspiracy theories, assassination conspiracy theories. And I understand why he chose to tell this one, because there is the book On the Trail of the Assassins Jim Garrison wrote, and the fact that, ultimately Clay Shaw is the only person who was ever actually put on trial for the Kennedy assassination. That's a legitimately very interesting angle, and I get that as kind of the entry point there. But it is amazing that he made this, 3.5 hour long historical epic about how the Kennedy assassination was basically just a gay orgy that went a little too far.
Yeah, they didn't know when to stop.
That's ultimately all it was. Yeah,
it's just this
it was
gay,
all. Yeah, it's like
revelrous
ultimately it was a
orgy
sex
that
thing.
ends with Kennedy being killed.
Yeah.
Do you guys think if Alan Dulles had been gay, he would have made the movie about somebody who actually mattered, or no?
Here's the thing: I'm pretty sure Alan Dulles was gay, and
sick.
I just feel that way.
No.
I don't have any evidence for that.
He was a fuckboy, dude.
I just
gives
feel
off
that
the
way.
vibe for sure, dude.
Yeah, I just get the vibe that Alan... Okay, so maybe not
Power
gay, but I
bottom.
get the feeling that Alan Dulles wouldn't say no to anybody. Let me put it that way.
He was a little sex freak. He
Alan
definitely
Dulles was
too.
a yes man through and through. Alan Dulles would fuck anyone that would fuck Alan Dulles. That's how I
mean,
feel.
dude,
yes,
everything
man.
I read about
Yeah.
him, they're just like, he was trying to lay pipe nonstop to everybody.
Absolutely. You know who else was like that? LBJ, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know that when LBJ got into office, one of the first things he did was have the shower in the presidential bathroom modified so that there was a hard jet that came out at crotch level, so that when he was showering, he could have like a jacuzzi jet out of the side of his shower just blasting his dick while he was showering.
God damn it.
That was,
He
and
used
you,
to-
there's records of that. You can find, he had to have all of his pants modified because his dick was too big.
Yeah,
Like, he was,
you can listen to it, but he also he used to
Amazing.
piss off of a boat, and when he would piss off the boat, he would look at everybody else and be like, "Hey, you guys want to know what temperature the water is?"
yeah, right. He also used
Water's
apparently
cold.
there were multiple
And
occasions where apparently LBJ had senators come in to have meetings with him, and he would intentionally be on the toilet. Like, he didn't need to be on the toilet, but he would be on the toilet, and he'd have them come in and just make them stand there while he like pretended to shit, just to be like, "Hey, listen, I'm the president." You know,
Absolutely.
you go and talk to me while I make brown, buddy. Like that's. I got
there's
special.
a story about how LBJ went in to use a urinal in a restroom, and there was a Secret Service agent who went in with him.
Yeah.
The Secret Service agent's just standing there, and he feels something on his leg, and he looks down, and LBJ is just pissing on his suit pant leg.
Jesus
And
Christ.
He looks up, and LBJ's looking at him, waiting for eye contact. And I think the line is, I think it's something like, "Don't worry, son. That's my prerogative."
That's awesome.
God damn.
So honestly, it's good that JFK got killed, and like
So we got.
I feel like we traded in a pussy for like a real man, and
Hell yeah.
honestly, I think every good American would agree.
Recordings of LBJ asking for more room in his taint on his tailored pants.
So can we sum up this movie by just saying that like it sucks, it's way too long, it's way too self-indulgent, and you can honestly just like kind of wrap this flick up by just saying like, yeah, we get it, Oliver Stone. You don't think that it was Oswald, like at all. You don't even think he was involved. You think that it was like a gay conspiracy to fucking off JFK, and it's a stupid movie. I think that the music sucks.
The gay agenda.
I think it's like pretty poorly acted, except for like a few standout exceptions. Like we talked about Tommy Lee Jones. I think that he does a pretty wonderful job, pretty much in everything that he does, and he managed to turn the source material in this into like something that he could kind of work with. But I feel like this movie fucking blew. I hated it. I had to watch it in 3 days, and I fucking hated it. And I was so upset that you made me watch this whole thing.
Yeah,
and then you were like, "Oh, watch the documentary afterwards." I'm like, no, go fuck yourself. There's no way that I want to find out how this piece of shit was made. I don't care. I think this movie sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I also do like how like he's like Jim Garrison is having like problems with his wife throughout this when she's like, "Will you give it the fuck up about your JFK thing and just like fuck me?" And he's like, "Well, now hold on there, you know." And then just like finally by the end, she's like, "Oh, okay, no, I actually do love you again." Like, through everything.
There was no explanation of the relationship thing. It was just like, "You're a bad husband." And he was like, "Yeah, I don't care." And then she was like, "I love you, though."
RFK.
And he was like,
they
"Yeah,
kill
good."
RFK. And when that happened, she's like, "Oh, never mind. I do love you."
You were right this whole time. I guess that negates our entire relationship problem. Like, turns out you were maybe correct about all these conspiracies. And to think I doubted you. Our marriage is secure.
Well, yeah, that... Yeah, oh, yeah, sure. You dedicated, I think 2 years roughly of your life. I mean, Shaw was arrested in 1967, and, ultimately, the trial was disposed of in, I think, 1969, late 1968.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, you dedicated, 2 years of your life to this, put our family in jeopardy.
Right.
Neglected your husbandly duties, but... Yeah, at least the guy got acquitted after 45 minutes of deliberation.
Yeah.
So wasn't it all worth it?
Yeah.
After you just sit there in the courtroom for like 10 minutes straight going,
"Oh, and his
back
speech.
into the left.
Jesus fucking Christ. I don't
Back into the
understand
left.
why Oliver Stone felt like it was a positive narrative choice to have Kevin Costner deliver like the most moving, convincing prosecutorial speech of all time. And then just immediately have it followed up by like, so anyway, he's acquitted of all charges. This is clearly bullshit. So.
Yeah, acquitted of all charges and walks out of the courthouse, and again,
just cakewalking.
Terrific
like,
performance.
Everything's
terrific
fine.
Performance by Tommy Lee Jones against type. Maybe I think it's fair to call it that as this effete sort of New Orleans businessman. But yeah, he walks out of the courthouse and like when he's speaking to the reporters and stuff, I think he says, like almost word for word, like, "Boy, I need to go home and have myself a plate of etouffee after that."
Yeah.
It's like just picturing Oliver Stone. Okay, so he gets acquitted. It's New Orleans. Well, he's going to eat a plate of etouffee.
Yeah,
and he'll announce it as you do in New Orleans.
I need them to know that I know what that is.
I'm going to go have myself a po' boy and a Sazerac, and an etouffee and a beignet, and then also a hurricane, and the levees. And I predict there might be some trouble with the levees in the future. I'm from New Orleans, just so you all know, but I also like men. I'm a gay man from New Orleans, and I killed JFK, but I didn't end the movie. Thank you, Oliver Stone. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about that fucking movie.
I mean, dude, all you need to know is how. So I believe I mentioned this the last Oliver Stone episode, but have you guys since then watched his Jeopardy appearance where he admitted he was on MDMA? It's him and Wolf fucking Blitzer, dude.
Can we get a drop? Can we get a drop in here, Cam?
So mad throughout it. It's the funniest shit.
Jamie, pull that up.
No, yeah. Can we get our producer to bring that up really quick? Too bad we don't have. We spent all of our per diem getting you guys here today, and
yeah, Percy, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Intern Percy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We do have a fake intern named Percy. I forgot about that.
A real intern named
real
Percy.
intern named Percy. That's a bit that Evan invented that just never took off.
Yeah.
And I support you in all of your bit endeavors, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate again just how absurd this whole enterprise was. Like,
yeah.
I do feel like in many ways the JFK assassination is the thing that broke America's brain. Like,
yeah.
We talk about, Trump in the last 6 years, broke liberals' brains. Well, JFK was the first thing that broke our brains as a nation.
Sure.
Well, it broke his brain.
It definitely broke his brain. Quite literally, and it broke it broke our nation's figurative brain.
His brain was all of our brains.
Yeah, for sure. So, this, and then followed shortly, well, I guess not so shortly thereafter, followed eventually, thereafter by Watergate and Vietnam and all that stuff. Like, nobody, if you had any faith in our institutions as a nation after, this trio of events, you're a fucking idiot. But just to make... I don't know. I just don't know why you make this movie. We've been sort of talking about and around this the entire time. Yeah, why pick one obscure, city DA? Like, yeah, okay. To your point, Evan, or I forget who made it, or it might have been Pat. This was the only guy put on trial for the assassination, but that doesn't make it a compelling, compelling piece of filmed entertainment.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Do something. Put Dulles in your literal or figurative crosshairs. Like, fucking, let's get into this. And then, the Through the Looking Glass, JFK Revisited.
He does the same thing.
He does the same goddamn thing. He just here's a fucking wheelbarrow full of circumstantial evidence. I don't know. Like, can you guys make any sense? He's fucking Pepe Silvia. He's pointing at the fucking strings. He's pointing at the strings.
He just throws as much shit at the wall as he can, and he sees what sticks. It's like, you don't have to do this. You've got good shit. Like, he's there.
He's. Can anybody explain why Whoopi narrates the first half and then Donald Sutherland shows up? But anyway, he's Charlie Day pointing at the fucking strings, going, I don't know. What do you think? Like,
he's
help us out here.
Who are 80, 90 years old to recount what they experienced 60 years ago. It's like,
or this is the kid of somebody who's dead. Yeah. Like, I don't know, did your dad do a thing once? Like, did he ever talk about it? Like, let's put that guy on screen.
I'm sorry, did your dad do a Vulcan mind meld with you so that you could get his fucking memories or something? Like, what the fuck, man?
Bringing RFK Jr. on.
Yeah.
Absolute whack job wingnut RFK Jr. To be like, here's how my dad, who died when I was 14, reacted to the Kennedy, his brother's assassination, which happened when I was 9. Yeah. I remember. I know exactly the conversation he had behind closed doors. He called the desk sergeant at the CIA.
Yeah.
And said, "Did you guys do this?"
There
was outside of this one RFK interview in this Oliver Stone documentary, there is no even fringe theory that RFK called the CIA.
Yeah. And in fact, everything I've read said that RFK kept everything close as shit to the chest because, and one of the things that he, when he was running for president is that he wanted to fucking crack this open. And so, like, he just watched them blow his fucking brother's brains out. He's not going to immediately start blabbing about how he knows it and wants to, like, solve it. Because then they're going to blow his brains out, which they ended up doing anyway. But it's just like, yeah, it's like all of that. I don't know, man. Oliver Stone, it makes a lot of sense that his son is Sean Stone. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, dude. Do you guys know anything about Sean Stone?
Not a damn thing. What's the deal?
Well, no, he was just in that QAA episode. He was one of the hosts.
He's
of the TV show from Gaia.
He's got a
Holy
Gaia
fucking shit.
He's got a Gaia, the good one. He's got a Gaia TV show where they just talk
he's not
about, like,
the one who
Anunnaki
introduced
the one that Travis View talked about.
Did he interview Bill Paxton?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
Actually, that's the good one. You're right.
That was the good one, yeah.
I shouldn't have said the good one.
Bill Paxton said that he misses the smell of human shit in the afterlife.
I need to watch that. We should have just watched that instead of this fucking stupid shit. Ugh. Was Bill Paxton in this movie? Everybody else was in this fucking movie.
He wasn't, but he should have been.
He should have been, because he was great in
conspicuously
everything.
absent from this movie. Look, you know what they did? They got when you can't get Paxton, you get D'Onofrio, and that's what they did.
They did get Vincent D'Onofrio. That's right. He's like right at the start, and he's like and then I saw his head get all pale, and he got.
Oh yeah.
He's just like describing a man being shot in the face, and it's like, yeah.
I didn't even.
So he
catch
got
that
pale
was
afterwards.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Good. The best role that Vincent D'Onofrio ever had, I think we can all agree, is in Men in Black, when he's like,
Yes.
"Give me sugar in water, more." It's the fucking best. Anyway, I love that movie. We should have watched fucking Men in Black instead of this fucking movie.
That's a good one. No, that's a good one.
Anyway, I do think that we should continue to watch terrible Oliver Stone movies.
Yeah,
because there are a couple good
we've
ones.
got Nixon, we've got W.
I do want to watch Platoon next. I think that Platoon is a good movie, and I think that we should watch Platoon.
Yeah, we can do that at some point.
Platoon kind of fucks. Born on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Might
he
be alright.
had a couple bangers. He started out hot. He had a couple of rippers
And then
at
he
the
just
top.
started taking Molly and going on Jeopardy and just fucking, like, got his brain sent into the stratosphere, man.
Yeah, nobody should be.
I think he
No
had
director.
one hot album every 10-year average.
Yeah, no director should be able to make more than 3 movies. Like, your returns diminish so quickly after the first 3. You got to be young and hungry, man. You can't be allowed to go up your own ass the way that Oliver Stone was, and just about every other auteur.
Look at Spielberg's a great example, right? Like Spielberg had a couple of fucking rippers. Look at Jaws. Jaws is a great movie. Look at
Absolute fire.
Duel. Duel's a good movie.
Close
I like
Encounter.
Duel. What did he make? He made E.T. That's a cool, fine movie. Close Encounters, not a bad movie.
I prefer Mac and Me to E.T. I prefer
1941?
McDonald's
That's fine.
to E.T.
That's fine.
Can we do an episode on 1941? I think a horribly underrated Spielberg classic.
Fuck yeah.
Did he make Empire of the Sun?
No.
Was that Steven Spielberg?
Wasn't that what's his face? The guy whose birthday it is? Isn't that Scorsese or something?
Was that Scorsese?
I don't know.
The guy whose birthday it is.
I just remember that's like the first movie that Chris.
Yeah, the
I think
guy
it's
whose
actually-
birthday is
it's
fucking,
November
I don't know,
22nd.
the
man.
first
The
movie that
Taxi
Christian
Driver.
Bale ever did, Empire of the Sun. Him and John Malkovich. That's a good movie. I like that movie. That's a good movie. But I haven't seen it since I was a
I
kid.
think a cooler
so maybe
way
it's not
for
good.
Oliver Stone to revisit the Kennedy assassination would have been to make a similarly grand, 3.5 hour long, lush period piece replete with bad accents and hair pieces.
Oh, Dave, it's got a...
investigating the mortal error theory. If you guys know that one.
No.
The mortal error conspiracy theory, one of my all-time favorite Kennedy conspiracy theories, posited by a Australian police detective / independent Kennedy investigator who spent decades working on this book that came out, I think, around the same time as this film, late 80s, early 90s, called Mortal Error, which posits that the actual kill shot that took the president's life was fired by a Secret Service agent a couple cars back who fat fingered the trigger on his.
Oh, I have heard this.
Shit.
I have heard this.
It's a perfect conspiracy theory. I love it so much because it's entirely dependent on, I was standing here and I heard, X sort of shot ricocheting off such and such buildings. Oh, this is how it sounded to me. Oh, this is how his head moved, etc. And he determines, well, the actual shot must have been Special Agent Barney Fife tripping and accidentally shooting the president, whilst other people, intended assassins, were missing. And so it's like, oh, well, what do you think Oswald fired at any... I don't know. Do you think there were guys in the grass? No, I don't know. Do you think it was the deep state or the mob? Oh, I don't know. There was that plot that I know nothing about that failed, and Mr. Magoo accidentally blew his brains out.
I absolutely love this, and
That would-
1,000% believe it. I've seen none of
That
the
would
evidence,
fucking
and
rule.
I am fucking
And
100%
it dovetails
Yeah, right.
perfectly.
Like, I've never hoped so hard that was how someone got killed. I
and,
hope that's
and
how
after the
JFK
fact,
got
he's
fucking
just standing there like,
Like, oh, the guy in the depository who was taking the shots actually did hit.
That would fucking
yeah,
rock.
no, I think he did. Yeah.
I think it was the guy working the hot dog stand across the street who didn't even actually have a gun, but he slipped, he fell, the hot dog squirted out from under his foot, it blasted across the street, it knocked into a cop's gun, it triggered the pistol shot, and that's how he died. Like, I hope it's something stupid like that.
It's a
I would
Justice
love
League.
for that.
it's a
Sometimes
Rube
just do
Goldberg device that fired the fatal shot.
Cam, Empire of the Sun was Steven Spielberg.
It was.
Take it back. Screenplay by Tom Stoppard, based on the book by J.G. Ballard. This is crazy.
Stop her.
Damn.
J.G. Ballard, really?
Yeah,
I have to rewatch that flick.
me too.
I remember liking it as a kid, but I had this like idea that it was probably a bullshit movie that I just liked because I was a kid. But maybe it's like worth a revisit.
Kind of heavy hitters,
I've never
man.
seen it.
Yeah. All right. Well, what else? Do we have anything else to touch on? I know that we've changed course. I know, Evan, you had a lot of notes prepared, and I feel sad that we diverted from them. But I'm also really glad that we did.
I don't care. It's not the first time it happened, and I'm fine with it.
This movie was fucking dog shit, and I just hated it so bad.
I mean, Ian, did you want to talk about Libra at all?
Oh, so I'm a huge DeLillo head. DeLillo gang, rise up.
Absolutely.
Gang. I'm reading Libra now for the third time, and man, it just it's interesting how much the narrative threads are parallel between JFK, but everything that Stone does weirdly and badly, DeLillo does brilliantly and artfully. You just get this I don't know, a deep feeling of paranoid and malaise at the same time. Like it's truly like this is the end of the empire.
Yeah.
And you're just watching us play out the string. It's really fascinating. One of the things that DeLillo does so well is he puts you in a place, and he throws out these incredible details that just make everything feel so fully realized. And he gets into the motivations and the history behind the thing that I find the most compelling is these guys, these spooks from the corporation. Once the Bay of Pigs goes tits up, they're all persona non grata in DC. And they all get sort of scattered to the four winds, and then they sort of try and reconfigure themselves, to kick off this conspiracy. And they're going to get JFK back for deserting them, basically for not providing air support is the main complaint, not providing air support for the Bay of Pigs. And so the stated rationale of the plot in Libra is that we are going to stage a failed assassination and make it look like the Cubans did it. But then there are guys within the cabal who are like, no, we're actually going to take him out.
Yeah.
So there are cabals within cabals, and DeLillo is just so gifted that you can, even though this didn't necessarily happen, it's fictionalized. You can 1,000% believe that this is exactly how it went down, and I think that's what's I find so compelling about Libra.
Yeah, so I've been reading it. I'm about halfway through it, and one of the things I really like about it that I think it really hammers home is just like how depraved these early CIA, like this is like the height of the CIA, how depraved these people are. Mm-hmm. Like it really shows all of these spooks as like raging alcoholics, and that like a lot of the shit that's coming out is just like, well, while dudes are like finding the bottoms of their cups. And it's just like, this is like one of the things that's like really like these people were all fucking insane alcoholics. Like when you have like James Angleton, which I know James Angleton is talked about a few times, definitely in the documentary.
Yeah.
He was such a fucking raging alcoholic, and he also got, like, so lost into his own mind about this shit that he, there was the 2 KGB defectors, I believe in, like, the 70s it was, or maybe the 60s, but James Jesus Angleton, he got, like, so obsessed with them, and it was, like, unknown as to whether or not they were actually ops. But when they defected to the U.S., their whole thing was that everything that the Soviet Union does is an op. Even the Sino-Soviet split is an op used to like drive the United States mad. And Angleton like bought it hook, line, and sinker, and he's just like a bull in a china shop, just destroying shit, trying to find them while being a raging alcoholic. And it's like this, just like you can feel the walls crumbling in while just learning about these people.
It really, it's incredible. I highly recommend reading Libra. Like, maybe in 2029 when everything gets declassed, like we'll finally
get declassified.
Right, exactly. It's already not happening, right? Biden's already kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
So
it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen. So because it's never going to happen, because we're never going to know for sure what happened, because who knows, even when the stuff gets declassed,
how much of it was destroyed?
1,000%, right. So because we're never going to know what happened, read Libra for a good and interesting counter myth.
Yeah.
Whereas the JFK movie is a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
Read Libra to see, another way that could have went down. And it actually is well done and satisfying in many ways.
Yeah.
That's my little plug for Libra. And you should read everything that DeLillo does, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I can, I don't know, say like one more thing here towards the end. I think one of the things that makes JFK and the assassination so compelling, and it's so compelling, these various forms of media, and that, people like us are sitting here, 60 years later, still talking about it in these ways. It kind of goes to what you're saying. It really is this moment when the bullet kind of just rips through the entire American facade, as well as JFK's head. This was like the one time that you could use this move. If it was the CIA, if it was like Allen Dulles, and you read these quotes about Allen Dulles talking about how he believed that the real power of the CIA was in subverting all other power on Earth. When you look at it like this is the one time you get to use this move, and the fact that they used it meant that they really fucking believed this was the moment that it needed to happen, and that if it didn't happen here, their entire plan for the American century was out the window. That's what they thought, at least. And so you have this moment where the bullet rips through JFK's head, and it just tears away everything that people thought. And then right after it, you have this succession of, you got Malcolm X's assassination, you've got MLK's assassination, you've got RFK's, and it's like you had all these huge domestic assassinations. And then, you get to the 70s, and this is why you see things like Alan Pakula with his series of films about like paranoia. That's where you get the parallax view, is because there was this entire new like this milieu of insanity that was unleashed into the country, and it's just such an interesting moment that still reverberates with us today. And I still love seeing these depictions of it and reading them, and just learning about all this shit.
Yeah, I do sort of have, like, I guess sort of a competing view to that, which is just that, like, so much of the kind of Kennedy myth as it continues to endure in the public imagination, in 91 and even now in 2021, it's like so deeply rooted in just like unknowables and counterfactuals. I think by the Church Commission anyway, it was maybe not in 68 when Jim Garrison was prosecuting his case against Clay Shaw, but by the 70s with the Church Commission and stuff, after the kind of tumult of the 60s had congealed into the, like you were saying, Evan, that sort of paranoid, cynical hangover of the 70s. I think that the most people rejected the Oswald was just some random guy with a gun theory.
Yeah.
So it's like, you've got, Kennedy's martyred, but, by whom and serving what end? And then the kind of second set of, so you got sort of unknowables there, and then the sort of counterfactuals of, what would a proper 2-term Kennedy presidency have looked like? And so there's so much ambiguity there, and I think there is, and Oliver Stone certainly does this in this film, and Jim Garrison certainly did it in 68 with his case against Shaw, to, look into the ambiguity and just to see the greatest amount of contingency, to say, okay, well, to put together, as they do in the film, this mosaic of, Kennedy speeches and executive orders and stuff that present the image of Kennedy as this sort of burgeoning peacenik he's withdrawing the advisors from Vietnam. He's talking about, what we're not going to replace one form of colonialism with colonialism under a different name. Yeah. And to say, okay, well, and actually Stone reuses that clip in both, I think, JFK the film and his documentary about it, and his whole case that, like, well, the CIA or whoever it was, they had to kill Kennedy so they could go ahead with Vietnam. And again, I kind of get that tendency, especially if you lived through it, to like extrapolate on the acute cultural significance of like the president got his dome rocked in a fucking major American city on a Tuesday. And to extrapolate that into broader historical significance and to say, okay, by the 70s you've got a much meaner, harder time, and to say, well, how did we get from like the post World War II starry-eyed, optimistic economic boom years to here? And if you take, as you guys do, kind of a materialist view of history, you'd say, well, there are these economic forces, the creep of neoliberalism, the fracture and eventual kind of piecemeal sale to the scrap heap of the New Deal consensus, and in the 70s the labor movement in this country gets its spine ripped out like a fucking Mortal Kombat fatality, all the way through to the deregulation and eventually the Volcker shock of 79 and 80, where Paul Volcker says Americans will need to accept a lower standard of living. And to say, well, how did we go from like that to this? And be like, well, remember when the president got his head blown off and how horrible everything felt? And to say, well, that was like the hinge point. And I get that tendency, but I don't know if that's completely accurate. And as Stone does, and Garrison in his case in this film say, oh well, certainly all that stuff happened, Vietnam and eventually Watergate and whatnot, and to say, oh well, Kennedy was the guy who would have stopped that.
I don't think he was.
Shot. And it's like, well, to elevate the Kennedy assassination above just the throng of assassinations and stochastic violence of the 60s as the moment, especially when, if you're like a boomer and you live through this, you've had 50, 60 years of media telling you, oh, the 1960s, the stuff that happened there, the Kennedys, Martin Luther King, Woodstock, etc., just all of the kind of culture and politics at the time. That's history, and everything since then, we're just in a prolonged epilogue to the decade of your youth that really mattered. And I'm not sure that that's completely correct. That that was the event.
Yeah, no.
The CIA didn't pop him. I just think it's almost like I kind of think it's almost just like a, the idiom about the only tool you have is a hammer. Looks like hell.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this was right when they were doing this to other countries. But what I was saying with it too, it's that not that was the moment, the hinge point, but rather that the perception was there by certain people, and that's what made them feel like that they needed to do that. I think those things were coming no matter what. The board had already been laid out like that. The pieces already put into place. But that there were certain people that felt like, this was a moment that they needed to use this one card that they had. This is the only time you can use it. I mean, there's a reason, I think, too, that there are like 5 future presidents in Dallas on the day of the assassination. It was them saying, like, listen, if you go against us, we'll fucking do this to you, too. And, I happen to think Watergate was, they couldn't do the assassination again, but they're like, all right, we can get this guy out, a different way.
That was certainly Nixon's interpretation. There's a line on the Watergate. You mentioned the Bay of Pigs thing.
Yeah, where it was the FBI stumbling upon an active CIA operation. Like, that's why it came out when it did,
Yeah,
but, there were people from the Bay of Pigs who had broken into Watergate that night, too, so...
And he said he resigned to avoid opening up the whole Bay of Pigs thing. And Halderman would later say that was a reference to his own belief that the CIA killed Kennedy over the Bay of Pigs split. But I think they didn't had to. It was just if you're Alan Dulles, it's just easier to orchestrate. Basically a coup than just have a series of meetings.
Yeah, so maybe it's no surprise that Stone makes this movie as a boomer who has ascended to cultural supremacy and who has gone through 30 years of atomization and stuff. He's not going to make a historical materialist film. He is going to make a film about atomized individuals alienated from their fellow citizens, their communities, and it's going to have to
religion.
Yeah, it's going to have to be one guy who stands up for truth and justice in the American way. And contrast it, I hadn't thought about JFK relative to Parallax View or any of the other Pacula films, the Paranoia trilogy. If you had a motherfucker who came up during the Depression, World War II, you're going to get badass movies about truly evil people. Not this fucking pablum, this fucking milquetoast half measure bullshit that we got from Oliver Stone. He never he fails to identify the bad guy. You could at least do that, Rambo does that, Terminator does that. Give me somebody to root against. Not that I necessarily need that in the film. But
you're right. It is very nebulous, that whole part of it.
And it's nebulous in Libra too, but to intentionally and to a specific end.
Yeah, not because you don't get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Not because you're too
I
pussy.
think there was a certain way to think about things like the Kennedy assassination, the big one. The thing where you'll never or conceivably never have the real story, real straight dope. So how do you manage and balance all of these ideas of what could have happened? And the Stone goes with a particularly bizarre one, I think, and one that is ultimately unsatisfying because like you said, Ian, the argument here isn't that Clay Shaw was a mastermind or anything. It's that he was a glad hand who basically put people in touch and was, a cog.
Mm-hmm. He was a cog in something that you'll only ever find cogs in. That's the thing. You'll never find the thing at the center of it, the prime mover. You just find these pieces that you start to go down paths, and you keep finding more and more of them, and they keep intertwining with each other. But you're never going to get to the center, the prime mover there.
Yep.
But all right. So if we don't have anything else to add, I think it's time for the Hephaestion thighs. For each of us to give our Hephaestion thighs. So I'll start. For the movie, I give it 4 Hephaestion thighs. It is a baffling, insane movie. But I love it. I've seen it a bunch of times. I'm sure I'll see it at least once or twice more in my life. It is truly, truly strange, but I kind of like that about it. For the documentary, man, I don't know. I remember telling you guys, I watched it once, and I was like, that documentary's not good. So I watched it a second time. I liked it more the second time. I probably give that one maybe 2, maybe 3 Hephaestion thighs. It's really bad for the first half, and it's pretty good for the second half. So I'll stipulate that. How about you, Cam? What do you think?
So I was gone for a little while because we had a fuse blowout here, so my recording's going to be a little weird. But I give that movie 1 Hephaestion thigh. I fucking hated it. I sat through the whole thing. It took me 3 days. Didn't like it. Didn't watch the documentary because I don't have Showtime, and I wasn't going to pay to watch that shit because I didn't want to see how to make a movie I didn't like. And so I'll give that nothing because I didn't watch it. Yep. But, I did not care for JFK Director's Cut. I almost wish that I had seen the theatrical release before because maybe I would find that more palatable. But, didn't care for it.
All right. Ian, how about you?
I'm going 2 thighs for the feature and 0.5 for the doc. The feature was like, there's excellent performances. It is, very, very capably and professionally shot. Lots of dark interiors. I could have used like more New Orleans, more Dallas, like more exterior. Give me some.
You see like 5 buildings.
Yeah, give me some natural light. It was kind of a thing though. In that era, the dark wood gives you gravity, and Wayne Knight in a library is serious business. And the performances that I've, Rooker and Lee Jones and Oldman, like very good. Definitely enjoyed watching those people do their things. But ultimately just a train wreck of a film. And there's nothing redeeming about the doc. Nothing good at all. I do not need to know what a, pulmonologist from fucking, Calgary thinks about the fucking JFK assassination.
Yeah. Right. All right, Patrick.
So am I the only one who doesn't completely understand the Hephaestion thighs?
It's a callback to Alexander.
But wouldn't 2 be the maximum?
No. You misunderstand the nature of Hephaestion thighs. Yeah,
unlimited supply of thighs.
Unlimited Hephaestion thighs?
You're Alexander. You are Alexander the Great. Okay. You can have as many Hephaestion thighs as you want.
So Evan, you gave the JFK film itself 4 Hephaestion thighs,
4 thighs,
and you said you thought it was okay.
Yeah, I like it. Right, I like it. It's not good, but I like it.
I would give it, you know what? I'll go 3.5 Hephaestion thighs. Basically 1 Hephaestion thigh per hour of runtime. Okay. I think that's a fair...
That's fair, yeah.
I think we'll just peg the exchange rate right there. I thought, again, it, like many films in Stone's oeuvre, it, I think, aims for something kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Does it in exactly the way that Stone wants to do it, and not the way that any sane person would maybe want to do it, but does it exactly right. Like I mentioned earlier, he did win a Golden Globe for direction, and I think he deserved it because it is this kind of manic, shambolic, overblown narrative that manages to fit all of this circumstantial and sometimes contradictory information together in a way that kind of synthesizes into something that is I would describe as eminently watchable. What I would call that. The Through the Looking Glass documentary, it's got to be maybe a 0.5 Hephaestion thigh, just kind of the under meteor part of 1 Hephaestion thigh.
I
I think it could have used more B-roll footage of Oliver Stone in a tailored
wandering around,
walking up to a fence, dude.
plaza
with his fucking sausage fingers.
No, or my favorite when he just goes, and the shot is just him turning around. Like,
Does my man has to have gout, right? Did you see the girth of those fingers? He's not okay.
I feel like I want to see it now.
No.
I mean, dude. So the
don't
first
wanna
time I
hate it.
watched it, I definitely gave it half a Hephaestion the first time. I liked it a lot better the second, but very understandable.
It sounds really bad.
Well, Cam, to your point, it's not a documentary about the making of the JFK film at all. It's sort of like a very direct counterpoint to it in a way, where like the actual JFK film, like it gets looped into a loose trilogy of Stone films about presidents. You know, this, Nixon,
Right. And W, right?
Yeah, W.
Oh no, did he have a fuse blow too?
Yeah, he's dead. They got to Pat.
Oh no.
Fucking Dulles brothers from beyond the grave.
Yeah,
Seriously,
dude.
they're coming back to haunt us.
Dead Dulles
Technical
is.
difficulties.
Dull eye.
Yeah.
The dullies.
Yeah. All right. Well.
I think at this point we could
That might
probably
be a
just
sign.
call it.
Yeah. We've
Yeah,
gone
it's-
pretty long.
It's
So
been long enough.
well, gentlemen, thank you for doing this with us. We will do it again, I'm sure, in a few more months. We'll do another Stone movie or something.
Can we do a good one though?
Yeah, I know you want Platoon.
I just want Platoon or some other good Oliver Stone movie.
Yeah.
If we're gonna keep doing Oliver Stone, I want it to be a good one.
All right. Well, I
If
guess
they exist, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I
If
guess
a
with
good one
that,
exists, I want to do like Wall Street. Is Wall Street good?
Yep. All right. So Pat is no longer in the chat. So
Okay.
So thanks
No
again
chat,
for
Pat.
stopping by, Ian. Well, I guess Pat can't plug anything, but Ian, would you like to plug anything?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, listen to the Interesting Times Gang records. You can go to Bandcamp, itgang.bandcamp.com, and check those out. That'd be nice. I always like to have folks check that out. But otherwise, I don't know.
New Kowloon?
Kowloon Walled City record is out, and people
fucks.
seem to like it.
Yeah, it's heavy as shit, dude. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really
yeah.
fucking good. I was listening to it at the gym the other day.
Thanks, fellas. I really appreciate that. That's awesome.
If you're somebody that listens to our show too, you'll recognize Interesting Time Gang from the theme of this show.
Indeed.
Yep. Shonen Jump. Yes.
Yep. It's a ripper.
Yeah. And then I guess, I will plug for Pat. He's got a podcast, This Is Bad, about the show, what is it, United States of Al, this really bad Chuck Lorre show about the war in Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking stupid, that show.
The
Not his
podcast
show.
is great.
The podcast is great. The show itself is pretty fucking stupid, but Pat's show is really good. You guys should check it out. Anyway,
right, well.
Thank you guys for listening. And as always, we'll have links to everything in the fucking show notes, and you know how it goes. We love you all. Thanks for coming on, Ian and Pat.
My pleasure, dudes. Thanks for having me. Talk soon.
Yeah,
Seriously,
see you guys later.
Have a good
Peace.
day, man.